What's up guys, and welcome back to Lincoln, where we'll get it straight off with the fact that Wolfsburg have won the Champions League. Wolfsburg. Honestly, I'm lost for words. But anyway, we will look at the table, and as you can see, there's already a bit of an issue here, because that is not our table. That is the World Cup groups, which haven't started yet, and there's a reason for that. We are now the Italy manager. Italy came to me, offered me a job. I said yes. I mean, and to be honest, I'm not really regretting it. When you look at the squad that they've got, when 90 Belotti, 91 Verratti, and a 91 Donnarumma, and then you've got Bernardeschi out wide as well, an 88. Who wouldn't say yes to that? Anyway, so we are the Italy manager. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we can do something in the World Cup. That'd be quite fun. But yeah, we'll have a look at the table and we'll see where we finished in the league. And in fact, we finished top. We won the Premier League, which really was our focus this season, to be honest. We kind of came into the season after getting punted out of the Champions League last season. We kind of came into the season aiming to finish top, knowing that if we finish top, we get a guaranteed Champions League spot next season. Yeah, finish top, and we'll probably have a pretty good group, hopefully, next season. But as you can see, we finished, well, a solid 14 points ahead of Spurs. So we absolutely dominated, quite frankly, the second half of the season. And given that it was actually quite close at the end of January, I think we were only a point or two ahead of West Ham, ending January, starting February. So we've very much kicked on in the second half of the season, and it's ended up with us being absolutely dominant. That's not what I was trying to do. Dominant at the top end of the season. So we performed very well. Our goal difference was ridiculous compared to the teams around us. Next best was bloody Arsenal with 21. We had 31. I mean, look at Spurs, who finished second at a goal difference of 10. But as you can see, it was all of our goals for that really gave us that, because our goals against aren't great, really, given that 48 goals against puts us down sort of probably bottom half of the table if you kind of balance it all out. So it'd be about mid-table with that level goals against. So our goals for was what really gave us that, and yeah, it resulted in us winning the league. Meanwhile, down the bottom half of the table, we'll have a look down here. We've got Wolverhampton, West Brom, and Brighton all finished bottom relegation zone, so they are going to be playing Championship football next season. Bournemouth managed to miss out on relegation by goals for. Their goal difference was identical with Brighton, so it was goals for that kept them up. And Crystal Palace were only 1 point away from the drop zone as well. So, I mean, Newcastle actually were quite a distance. There was a 9-point gap after Crystal Palace up to Newcastle. So, yeah, it looks like it was kind of a five-way battle for who would potentially, Wolverhampton looked like they were down and out quite early on by the looks of things. But, yeah, that last final relegation place was could have gone anywhere, really, frankly, at the end of the season. But yeah, Liverpool as well, performing very badly, 13th, only managed to get 51 points, and finishing bottom half of the table, which not a great performance. But yeah, all in all, it's a bit of an odd table. But then again, don't really expect much else these days when it comes to FIFA Premier League tables. Anyway, we'll move on to the FA Cup, I think, is next, and well, we didn't do very well in the FA Cup. We got knocked out very early on, and we got knocked out in our first or second round match, so the third or fourth round in total. So yeah, it really did not go well for us. We just didn't turn up, and West Ham ended up winning it. As for the Carabao Cup, the same happened. We got knocked out early on. Bolton Wanderers managed to knock us out. We already knew about this from last week, but both cups, we just didn't perform. Just not a single bit of performance came in those games, which is really disappointing. Really disappointing. I mean, to be fair, it probably helped us in the long run, because we were struggling with energy levels, really, in the second half of the season. Players just not having enough energy, and if we were still playing all of the cup competitions, it would have been so much worse. So it's probably a bit of a blessing in disguise. Probably the reason why we did as well in the second half of the season as we did. But yeah, we'll fire around and have a look at the European Championships. So as I said, Wolfsburg have won the Champions League. And they won it against Liverpool 2-1. Liverpool had a relatively tough run, 2 games going to penalties. They first of all put out Dortmund, which, as we discussed last week, was going to go one of two ways. It was either going to be a really close game, or an extremely one-sided game, and it went the very close route with Liverpool winning on penalties 5-4, and then Liverpool having to beat Chelsea 4-3 on penalties as well. So Liverpool not having an easy run in the Champions League. They then went up against Atletico Madrid and won 4-2 over the two legs before ultimately losing to Wolfsburg in the final. Just noticed as well, Schalke had a very tough run. Had to beat PSG, which they actually managed to do 3-0 over two legs, which is a very good performance. Schalke then had to play Real Madrid, and they also beat them 3-2. So Schalke had a very, very tough start to their knockout phase of this competition, and then they got knocked out by Wolfsburg. So yeah, after beating PSG and Real Madrid, they get put out by Wolfsburg, who then ultimately win the competition. But Real Madrid as well having to put out Bayern Munich. So by the end of the quarterfinals, you'd already lost Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG, Tottenham, Barcelona, Chelsea, Dortmund, Roma, and Juve, and Napoli as well. I mean, like, there so many big names were out before they even got to the end of the before the semi-finals. So yeah, it was a bit of an interesting tournament, that one. A bit of an interesting tournament. So we'll move on to the Europa League, where we were performing. And as you can see, we performed pretty poorly. We managed to get to the round of 16. Another blessing in disguise, really, I think, this not having to play Europa League games every Thursday. Because FIFA has a tendency to give you a game on Thursday and then a game on Saturday, which is just the worst. Literally the worst thing in the world. But anyway, we ultimately got put out by Villarreal over two legs, 5-3. And, well, Villarreal were in our group, and we also lost to Villarreal. We lost 6 points behind Villarreal. We came second by. So yeah, we just could not play against them. We just ended up losing every game that we played against them, which is really disappointing, quite frankly. They just were better than us over not just one game, but over four. So that was a thing. But yeah, as you can see, AC Milan actually managed to win the Europa League 2-1 over Watford, who Watford have had a very good season. They finished 4th in the Premier League, and now they also managed to get to the final of the Europa League. So ultimately, they didn't manage to win it, but that was pretty good going by them. So, you know, good season all in all. They've hopefully, well, they may have actually qualified for the Champions League, given that an English team didn't win the Champions League this season. They probably won't get punted out like we did. But anyway, they look like they're probably going to be in Champions League next season. But that is the tables. That is what has happened, and we'll have a look at the squad, which has progressed quite nicely. We've got a few players coming up the ranks. Kuzwick's up to 85 rated now. He's really pushing on. Unsane up to 80 as well. Our midfield looking very strong. This Furlan boy that we bought in January, the very last thing we did just before the end of the transfer deadline day, he's actually been performing very, very well for us. So I'm quite happy with that. Quite happy with that purchase. So yeah. Looks pretty good. This Pedro Jesus boy that we've got as well, who came through our youth academy, he's also performing very well and has filled the shoes of Castro that we lost in January very well. So I think all in all, selling Castro in January, very good move, very good financial move for us. As you can see as well, this Ben Klukas boy that we've got, who I think we actually got as a free agent, is now 80 rated. He's actually technically our best defender, and to be honest, I actually do play him quite a lot, even though he's on the bench here. I do actually play him pretty much most games. I'll take one of these players off and stick him on. Dujon Sterling as well, performing quite nicely. Not quite at the same levels as Buniel, but he's not bad. He's still there. He's good for bringing off the bench. Kieran Tierney up to 83 rated. He's been very good for us. I think his crossing is actually outstanding, quite frankly. So yeah, he's very good. Quite very happy with him. This Deprez boy that we've also signed as our backup goalkeeper. He's kind of annoyed. He doesn't really get enough game time, he feels. So he's wanting to go on loan. But I don't really want to send him on loan because we don't have anybody to replace him. So we're just going to have to kind of keep with him and maybe just play him a bit more. The one thing I've noticed about this Castro boy, although he's rated very highly, he loves to just like punch stuff and palm stuff away as opposed to grabbing onto it, when it's probably easier to just come out and grab onto things. Stats are very nice, but he just has this tendency to just love to punch. But anyway, this boy actually does perform very well in games. Like I've not really played him and thought that was an absolute howler of a game he's had. Like he does tend to perform pretty well. So Might play him a little bit more, even though his rating's not quite as high as Castro or whatever our goalkeeper is. Yeah, Castro. So yeah, that's pretty much the squad. There's a lot of youth coming through. This Pasos Santos boy that we have as our backup left back is also pretty good. Not really any issues with him coming in, and he plays well when he does play. So yeah, all in all, pretty happy with the squad. I'm not really sure what to do, to be honest, in terms of signings in summer. It depends how much money we get given. I do kind of still want a midfielder, like a high energy, sort of like an N'Golo Kante style midfielder who just doesn't stop, just runs and runs and runs, and is like very defensive minded, because I think that's something we kind of miss in this squad. It's not a big issue, but it is probably the main reason why we leak as many goals as we do. I think it's just because our fullbacks, or like wing-backs, really push up the field, and it results in us having basically a lot of 1-on-3s, or like, I say 1-on-3s, like 2-on-3s, 3-on-3s with the attacking team just running straight onto our centre-backs, which they're not too like happy about. So it would be quite nice to have somebody who's potentially able to just sit in this midfield role and just kind of be a bit more defensive minded than the players we've got. Busquets is defensive minded, but he just doesn't really have the sort of work levels that I was hoping for. Despite that, he is good, but yeah, I think like this boy is actually quite good at this, like getting back and defending, but his defensive work rate's low. But when he does get back and defend, he defends well. So if we could find somebody like him but with a high defensive work rate, that would be absolutely amazing. But the problem is FIFA just never bloody well shows you what like work rates are before you actually sign a player. So you're just kind of left in limbo, hoping that the player you're signing is actually good at what you want him to be good at. But yeah, that is something we could potentially look at signing in summer. But apart from that, maybe one more centre back as a sort of backup centre back. We've already got like 4, I think, is our number of centre backs at the moment. I think we've got 5 technically, because we've got this boy as well who's has had to play because of the energy levels of some players, and he's been alright. But I'd probably quite like one maybe in the sort of low to mid 70s range, who could just be like our like 5th choice centre back who could come in every now and then when players are feeling a bit tired. But apart from that, I don't think there's much in the squad to really improve on. I mean to be fair, there's always stuff to improve on, but I don't think there's anybody where I see that I need to sign anybody. So if an option comes up that I can sign somebody, I'll take it. But there's not really any desire to go out and just change everything for the sake of it. So yeah, all in all, pretty happy with the squad. So I'm probably going to call it a week. If you've enjoyed this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe as well if you're new around here. And I'll get back to you guys next week, where hopefully Italy will have won the World Cup, but we'll find out. We'll see what happens. We're in a pretty straightforward looking group. But yeah, that'll be next week's video, where we'll be at the summer transfer deadline day. So yeah, until then, cheerio.